Springfield, Missouri isn't just my favorite city in Missouri. Believe it or not, Springfield is my favorite city anywhere. Moving to southern Missouri is the best thing I've ever done for my family. Now, I admit I haven't been to that many cities really in my entire life, but I've been to enough to know that I don't like cities tons. And that speaks volumes for Springfield because I actually love it. Mostly the cities I've seen are East Coast and West Coast. And I've been to cities and areas that are gorgeous, amazing restaurants, really just gorgeous architecture, really affluent areas. And the thing is that you turn the corner in any of those cities and you might see a homeless encampment or someone shooting up or someone dying on the street, something just absolutely insane. And yeah, that's one reason that you can't really fully enjoy any of those West Coast, East Coast cities is because just the level of insanity that you also have to take in with those cities is just, it's a lot. Now, I hear all the time from locals of how high the crime rate is in Springfield. And I get that in their lifetime, they've seen it grow exponentially and it's unacceptable. But I looked at a few other cities and it really put it into perspective. We're going to talk about that a little bit later in the video. But in comparison, Springfield is really favorable and for a lot of reasons. So we're going to talk about restaurants. I am very pleased to find that there's a variety of food in Springfield. It's not just barbecue and steakhouses. And actually there's kind of an interesting history in Springfield of kind of multicultural food. And this blew my mind actually, which is that cashew chicken, right? Like everybody loves Chinese cashew chicken. And it originated in Springfield, Missouri. Actually, the son of the man that created that chicken still is running a restaurant, Leong's Asian Diner, and their last name was Leong. And the father, just an amazing story, amazing human being. He had come here from China and became a legal citizen and then instantly joined the army, fought in some major battles, D-Day and just a bunch of others. I don't know if he was like awarded any medals, but it sounded like he had been very like brave and courageous and gone through a lot of different battles and came back and started making amazing food in restaurants and blew this guy's mind away. I can't remember what his name was, but he propositioned him and was like, you should be in your own kitchen. I'm going to help fund you and get you started in your own restaurant. And that was the start of it. It was called actually Leong's Tea House, and it was huge. It was like 350 seats. And he wanted him to start it in Springfield, Missouri. And he said that there was no Chinese food, of course, in Springfield, and that the people were ready for it. And so he brought him on over and they started a really successful business. But Leong knew that fried chicken was quintessential to the South and the Midwest. And so he wanted to kind of combine those Chinese, Cantonese flavors with your kind of traditional Southern, more Midwestern food. And so that's where he wanted to do a lightly fried chicken to honor the Southern aspect and then bring in those Chinese flavors, and that's how he got cashew chicken. And what's crazy is obviously it then spread all over Missouri, and then it spread really all over the country and all over the world. I mean, I don't know if you can walk into anywhere in the States, any Chinese food restaurant is gonna have cashew chicken on the menu. But here's what blew me away even more is that the Leong family went back to China for vacation and to visit family, and they literally saw a restaurant there in China that had a sign saying that they featured Springfield cashew chicken. So that was a pretty surprising and wild piece of foodie history of Springfield. But still to this day, for as, white as Missouri is, I mean, it's 84% white, we actually have an amazing amount of like diversity with food. I mean, some of my favorite restaurants are a Peruvian restaurant, right? Cafe Cusco. We also love that. Owner has another restaurant called Van Gogh's, which is like Dutch crepes. Amazing. But there's some good taquerias. There's some good, we love Everyday Thai. There's a few Thai food places, but Everyday Thai is definitely our favorite. But yeah, there's actually a good diversity of food, and I feel like it's growing in Springfield. The other thing that has really blossomed in the last handful of years is coffee shops. There is so many great coffee shops. There's people roasting. I mean, just that whole connoisseur element that was really hard to find in Missouri. I mean, I would say until kind of fairly recently, it was more of a like maybe Kansas City and St. Louis thing, but it's really blossomed. Good coffee has blossomed over in southern Missouri, and you can even find good coffee now in the small towns. So Springfield just has so many. I do want to plug one of my favorites, which is Architect Coffee, and they also have really awesome gluten-free treats, particularly this gluten-free donut that is definitely one of my addictions. So I love that place. But yeah, there's probably 10 others. Like, there's just amazing coffee. So you will not, if you're a coffee fan, you will not suffer in Springfield. And what goes hand in hand with good coffee is colleges. Those two have to coexist together. Yeah, so we have MSU, and of course it's the main campus, and then we also have Drury and Evangel. And I've heard great things actually about all three schools. I tend to be a little wary of like state universities just because I've been to them, and there's a lot of brainwashing, a lot of like liberal curriculum. But I've heard great things about MSU, and I've heard that there's a lot of like diverse and interesting debates that go on in the classes, and that it's actually really healthy. It's not all one voice. It's shared and different perspectives. I'm not shared. Different perspectives, but they share good communication and good debate. And I think that's really important. I think that that's actually one of the best skill sets that could be learned in college, is just like basic critical thinking, debate, communication skills. That really would actually not just be useful in pretty much every part of life, but really important for a strong nation. Like if we could actually talk things out, right? Through like intelligent communication, that would be amazing. I've heard other people complain that we don't have enough jobs in Springfield and the greater Springfield area, and I do hear that. I would say that there's definitely a lot of like lower paying jobs, and I know that that's not what we have. A lot of professionals who are moving here, and they're kind of looking for higher paying jobs. And I had one client, and he was looking for pretty much like a CEO or executive level job in logistics, and he was disappointed because he was used to start out pay where he was at was like 180,000 or like something crazy. And you know, that's not here, but you can. I did look into it. You can find like executive level jobs at like 100,000. But what I was telling him is I was like what we experienced moving from California is that your cost of living is so much less here that your standard of living, your quality of life will not go down, even though, you know, your pay scale will. So yeah, I think that the other thing I would say about finding jobs out here is that entrepreneurism is embraced. I continue to meet people that are millionaires off ideas that I just didn't even think would work. Like, I'm just like, I can't believe that's successful. And they're crushing it. One client of mine had a mirror business and made millions upon millions selling mirrors online mostly, and like fulfilling big orders to like other big box stores even, but just him Like his business was like him and a couple guys in a warehouse, and they made tons of money. And so I think that you just need to be creative. Like if you come here and you're like, there's nothing but fast food jobs, it's like, well, if that's all you see, then that's all there is. The other thing I want to say is that vocational jobs are those blue collar jobs here. People make well into 6-digit incomes with those. I don't know why. Well, I do know why. It's because teachers, honestly, in the academic sphere have turned their nose up to blue collar jobs forever, talk down about them, and make a lot of their students, other than the smart ones that actually know that like their parents did super well and his dad was a plumber or his dad was an electrician or whatever. But anyway, the academic, world has really tried to diminish the integrity of those jobs, and that's absolutely ridiculous. Yeah. So those jobs, people I know in those industries, contracting, electrical, plumbing, welding is huge here. There's a lot of opportunity for welding. And some of those bigger jobs, like more like advanced and kind of niche types of welding, you will travel for those jobs because those are just so specialized. But our neighbor, I think he like regularly made like $250,000 welding, right? He did do crazy stuff, like a lot of stuff that was in like sub-below weather, and I don't think he did underwater, but he may have. But he told me when he was working a lot, he made over 300,000. I think it was maybe 350, but yeah, that's considered a vocational job. And there's some lawyers that don't make that much a year. There's some doctors that don't make that much in a year. I mean, there's of course lawyers and doctors that make well more than that, but I'm just saying that whole attitude really needs to, get kicked out the door. So there is as much job opportunity here as you have desire to make. One more thing I wanted to talk about, obviously, like in terms of kind of your biggest industries, logistics is huge here. And that actually kind of segues into the next point I want to make, which we have something very unique in Springfield, which is this massive underground network of roads and buildings, underground buildings and caverns, and really interesting. I'm going to dig into some of that, but that actually is part of the logistics and distribution that is, so special to this area. Obviously, Missouri is just good for logistics and distribution in general because of its literally smack dab in the middle of the country. But then you have this really neat, very rare, you don't hear about this very often, characteristic of Springfield, which is underneath Springfield. If you go 100 feet below, there is something like over 350,000 square feet of tunnels, buildings, caverns that is all being used for all these different types of storage. There's amazing, even very reputable, very like affluent vineyards that store wine here in Springfield. There is, I believe, 75% of the storage is all food storage. And what's interesting is I knew that underneath the ground it would be around 60 to 55 degrees naturally. That's one of the cool things about being underground. But I didn't realize, I just figured that they used that for food storage, but they actually have buildings that are negative 22 degrees Fahrenheit up to 55 degrees and are, refrigerated or freezers, and all of that is underneath Springfield as well. There is over 3 miles of lit highway. I've been told that it's two-way, like semis can go in, and it's massive in terms of traffic. I didn't realize 600 semis use that tunnel system and are using that for distribution every day. So that was really surprising to me. I actually didn't know about that for a while and just thought that it was so cool. Of course, there's like been kind of some popularized conspiracy theories. Jesse Ventura, of course, had like on one of his shows about just different conspiracy theories in southern Missouri, and he highlighted all those caves. And the truth is, I think that there's irrefutable evidence that underground there's, deep underground military bases. I think that I've seen hardcore evidence, and I've talked to truckers, that there's not just small areas of networks of roads, but like most of the country has pretty much highways underneath the ground. So do I think that those are used for nefarious reasons? Of course. And Jesse Ventura was really hinting at that, but to tell you the truth, for the most part, I truly think that the caverns, the buildings, and everything that's directly under Springfield, I think is used mostly for food. Now, is there been ever crime or corruption? I'm sure. But he was making it act like it was this very sinister thing, and I think that there's so much sinister stuff going on everywhere, but especially in our country. But I actually don't think this is it, and I've just talked to so many people that have been down there, and it's pretty it's just a lot of food storage and distribution and whatnot. But if anyone has any experience of anything nefarious with the caves and the caverns and the buildings underneath Springfield, leave a comment and we'll start a discussion. That would be crazy. Speaking of nefarious, I do want to talk about crime in Springfield. I have heard so many locals talk about just how high the crime rate is and how violent Springfield is. And I just want to say, I want to put it into perspective, because I was believing those things, and I do believe that in their lifetime they have seen so much increase in crime. And I've seen increase in crime in just the small amount of years I've been here. And I think, to be honest, that legalizing recreational marijuana is part of that. But of course, I am aware that there's crime in Springfield, and it's a lot higher than where we live, where we don't even lock our doors. However, while crime has grown in Springfield, I just don't think that it's even close to as bad as it is in other parts of the country. And I had a local tell me, they were like, no, Springfield has gotten so violent. And they were insisting that Springfield at some point had been the murder capital, ratio wise, as anywhere in the nation. And I just, when you hear those kind of random facts and you're like, whoa, and you believe it and you kind of don't look into it. Well, I believed it for a while. I was like, whoa, Springfield has got a really high crime rate. And then I looked into it, and it's so not true. I mean, just to put into perspective, we moved from California, and man, I've seen crazy stuff in Oakland. You definitely want to lock your door when you see someone approaching your car at night. You're gonna get jacked or worse. And yeah, so it's really just not that energy here. I've never felt that energy here. Now, we have driven through parts of Springfield that are super rough, and you see cops dealing with some sort of situation. Maybe it's domestic violence or some sort of drug issue or whatever. That stuff is here. That stuff is in every city, right? But to put the numbers into perspective, in 2023, Springfield had 19 homicides. I believe that was with a gun as the weapon. So 19 shootings. And in Oakland, they had 71. And Oakland has a smaller population than Springfield, at least the Springfield and the greater Springfield area. Oakland has a smaller population. And it's crazy because all the media, imagine if Springfield's violence just exponentially grew to that, people would be so concerned, rightfully so. But what's crazy in Oakland, when they hit 71 deaths, everyone was celebrating and championing that number, because they were saying, oh my gosh, it's so much better than last year, which was 134. So the previous year had been 134 shootings. And so when they got 71, they were just so excited about how peaceful their city had become. So, and which is awesome. I mean, I'm glad. That's a 30% decrease, and that's amazing. But still, you know, we're really nowhere near that with Springfield, and you can feel it in the city. There's parts of New York that I've been to that were just really, really intense. Parts of LA, parts of Oakland. You just literally feel like you are going to be murdered. Or, I mean, at least robbed and beaten. Right? And I have never felt that in Springfield. So I just want to correct some of the locals' belief that Springfield is just the worst city ever. It is not. Now saying that, when we were driving here to Missouri, driving through Kansas City, we literally saw someone get shot. So I have not looked into what the shooting and the homicide rate is in Kansas City, but I guarantee it's higher. That did put a little bit of a negative perspective in our mind about Kansas City. Now, I know that was probably just crazy and random. I mean, we felt like it was pretty crazy. We were like, whoa. I mean, we definitely multiple times, it was like drive faster, get out of here. We did not feel safe. But saying that, I know that there's beautiful parts of Kansas City. But yeah, I just think that Springfield has a very different energy, way less of like that big city feel than we felt in Kansas City. Definitely St. Louis as well. To get back to like positives, we've got the Bass Pro headquarters, and I never realized how awesome Bass Pro is. I'd always heard guys growing up talking about it, and I was like, so you went to a sporting goods store, like big deal. And I didn't realize just what an event. Like, I mean, you're with the kids, you're looking at like crazy knives, and then you're eating fudge, and then you're going to an aquarium, and it's just like you're all over the place. There's so much. It really is more like an amusement park almost than it is like a store. I also want to say the aquarium, which is Wonders of Wildlife Museum and Aquarium, has won America's Best Aquarium from USA Today for like 5 years in a row. And it is pretty amazing. I took the girls, and most of it is just so well done, and so like everything is pretty meticulously taken care of. I admit that like when I just see like one sad fish, I'm like, oh, it kind of ruins it for me, because no matter what, you're gonna see animals where it's like they're not living their best life at that aquarium. And maybe I'm just sensitive, but like I can tell. And so it does make me sad, but that aquarium's actually really nice, and most of the fish and the creatures seem actually pretty happy. One of the cool things is we got to touch stingrays, and I didn't even know you could do that, but you can, I guess, and we did. But that was really neat. My daughter was blown away. My littlest one was like, could not believe that was there. But we had a blast, and I think it's expensive. I can't remember what we paid, but I remember being like, whoa, that was a little steep, but well worth it. The last thing I want to mention, I am not going to get into because I made 2 videos about it, and I really recommend you checking them out, but that's about healthcare in Springfield. So the first video I did was about the hospitals and kind of like traditional Western medicine, and then the second video was about alternative healthcare. And actually, as we've even dug deeper into alternative medicine and kind of preventative medicine in Springfield, we've just noticed that scene is growing so fast. We're actually going to start to go to a place that does like the ice dipping, where you do like hot, cold, and it's got this like even this cryogenic therapy, which is really crazy, where you're blasted with like really, really cold. They've got the amazing red light tables that also have some other wavelengths in them. They've got oxygen therapy, which we actually took the girls when they had a cough, which was amazing. All sorts of cool stuff. So I love really like fringe, cutting edge alternative health stuff. And I have found that Springfield is pretty cutting edge, and that scene is growing really, really fast. It's actually pretty inspiring because there's definitely a health movement that's starting and seems to be growing and flourishing. So I love that. And so I've been enjoying it because the more I kind of dig, the more cool protocols and techniques and practitioners I find up there. So yeah, that was a surprising thing. I did not think I would find any of that in Missouri. And I've been so blown away. Like, Missouri totally knows about alternative health, and it probably goes way back to like even like the old school like country remedies, right? Like, so that's like ingrained probably in people here. But yeah, alternative health is flourishing. So yeah, if you want to hear more about those, check out those other videos. But just to recap, you know, for us and our family, we pretty much stick to, you know, especially when it comes to hospitals, we stick to Springfield, although we know there's good hospitals in Branson and West Plains. I'm going to assume like Lebanon would have some good hospitals, but really what's happening in Springfield is like so beyond anything else I think that you're going to find. I personally think that Springfield has hospitals that are better than like even make sense for that area and even that size of the city. So I'm a big fan, and if I know my family's really sick or hurt, I just want to go to the best of the best. And so that's why we stick with Springfield. But pretty much when it comes to hospitals, because we believe in alternative medicine and preventative medicine for sickness, really what we're going to is for like hardcore trauma, you know. So someone has massively broken something, torn something, there is blood and gore, we are heading to Springfield. And the very last point I'm going to talk about with Springfield is that it's got really diverse real estate. And of course, Missouri is always really diverse, where we don't really have like gated neighborhoods. I mean, you often will see $1 million home next to a $50,000 home. And that's actually kind of neat. And that diversity is definitely found in Springfield. But I have to say there is some gentrification where those little homes that are really rough, a lot of people, you know, a lot of investors have moved in and are remodeling and reselling or renting those homes. And you can start to see that happening around the city, and I really like that. But still, even though we have investors here, you can find really affordable homes in Springfield, and you can find really opulent homes in Springfield. And I really like that diverse market. There's literally something for everyone. You can be a, you know, first-time home buyer that's even like a young college kid that's just working, you know, just like kind of a minimum wage jobs and get a home. Or you could be, you know, a really successful executive, and you too can find a beautiful piece of real estate in Springfield. And I like that diversity. Awesome, you guys. Thank you for sticking to the end. If you haven't yet subscribed, hit that button. It helps the channel grow. And if you're interested in real estate in Springfield or any of Southern Missouri, give me a call, text me, email, whatever. We can Zoom. Send a smoke signal, and we'll get the conversation started about what will be the best move of your life. Awesome, you guys. Until next time, bye.